You know that box of old family photos, maybe tucked away in a closet or attic? Well, you're sitting on a treasure trove of stories. But here's the thing, those memories are fragile. They're on paper that fades and yellows and curls over time. So today, we're going to walk through how to use a camera to transform those physical prints into absolutely stunning, high-quality digital files. Let's dive in and see how you can become your family's own digital archivist.
All right, here's what we've got on tap. We'll kick things off by talking about why a camera is really your best friend for this job. Then we'll get into the essential gear you'll need. After that, we are going to tackle the two biggest headaches, getting prints flat and killing glare. We'll even cover what to do with those really big prints, and then we'll wrap it all up with how to make sure your new digital archive lasts for generations.
For a long time, if you wanted to digitize a photo, you reached for a flatbed scanner. It was just the default tool. But honestly, times have changed. Professional archivists and photographers have pretty much moved on, and there's a really good reason for it. Let's talk about why camera-based digitizing is now the way to go for both quality and speed.
I mean, this slide really says it all, doesn't it? Think about using a flatbed scanner. It's slow. You scan, you wait, you preview, you crop, and you do it all over again. It is so tedious. With a camera setup, though, the whole process is incredibly fast. But more importantly, the level of detail you capture is just breathtaking. You can literally see the texture of the paper itself, something scanners almost always miss. You're seeing your results in real time, making it this fun, dynamic workflow, not just a repetitive chore.
Okay, so you're sold on the idea. What do you actually need to get these incredible museum-quality results? And listen, it's not about buying the most expensive camera out there. It's about having the right gear that gives you total control over the whole process.
So here's the core setup. A good mirrorless or DSLR is your starting point for getting that high resolution. Now the 1:1 macro lens, that's key. It lets you get in super close and fill the entire frame with the print for maximum detail. A sturdy copy stand, absolutely non-negotiable. It holds your camera perfectly still and perfectly parallel to the print. Then you need two high CRI lights for clean, color-accurate lighting. And finally, the filter, magnets, and acrylic, well, those are the secret weapons we're about to put to work.
Let's talk about what is, without a doubt, the single biggest hurdle you are going to face. Seriously, this one thing is what separates the amateur-looking shots from the professional ones, and that is getting your prints perfectly 100% flat.
This quote right here just nails it. When you're using a macro lens, your depth of field, the area that's in sharp focus, is incredibly thin, like paper thin. So if that old photo has even a slight curl to it, the edges are going to fall outside that sharp plane and they'll look soft and blurry. All that amazing detail you're trying to capture, it's just gone. So you have to remember, flatness equals sharpness. It's that simple.
The good news is we have two fantastic, really simple solutions to tame even the most curled-up, stubborn old prints. So let's break down what I like to call the magnet method and the acrylic sandwich.
First up, the magnet method. This is awesome because it's so easy. If your copy stand already has a metal base, you're good to go. If not, you can just grab a cheap sheet of steel from any hardware store. Then you just use thin strip magnets to pin the edges of the print down flat. Now here's a pro tip for you. Put the magnets on the top and bottom edges, not on the sides. Why? Because your lights are usually on the sides, and this way they won't cast any weird shadows from the magnets onto your photo.
Now for those really difficult prints, the ones that are super curled or maybe a bit delicate, the acrylic sandwich is going to be your best friend. You just lay a sheet of high-quality clear acrylic right on top. It acts like a gentle, perfectly even weight that presses the entire print into that single sharp plane of focus. But, and this is super important, that acrylic has to be spotless. Every single speck of dust, every fingerprint will be captured in razor-sharp detail by your camera if you're not careful.
Okay, so we've got our print perfectly flat. Awesome. Now we have to face the second great enemy of digitizing prints, glare. This is especially a problem with glossy or semi-gloss photos. But don't worry, we're about to pull out a little trick from physics that honestly feels like pure magic.
The technique is called cross-polarization. Now, I know that sounds complicated, but the idea behind it is actually really simple. Think of light as waves vibrating in all different directions. A polarizing filter acts like a gate that only lets light vibrating in one specific direction pass through. So by putting one filter on your lights and another on your lens, and then turning them 90 degrees to each other, you basically block all the harsh mirror-like glare. But all the good light, the light that's actually bouncing off the photo's color and detail, is allowed to pass right through to your camera.
And this is what I'm talking about.
Here's a typical glossy print without this technique. You see those bright, distracting hotspots? The colors look all faded and washed out, and you can't see any of the subtle texture on the paper because it's just hidden by that reflection. You're not taking a picture of the photo, you're taking a picture of the glare on the photo.
And voila! This is the payoff. With cross-polarization, the glare is just gone. It's vanished. And suddenly, you see these deep, rich, saturated colors. You can see the fine texture of the paper itself. This is the true image that was hiding underneath all that reflection the whole time. The difference is just night and day. It's absolutely incredible.
So, how do you actually do it? It's a super simple 3-step process. Step 1, you put polarizing gel sheets over both of your lights. Step 2, you screw a circular polarizing filter onto your camera lens. And step 3, the fun part, just look through your camera's live view screen and slowly turn that filter on your lens. You will literally see the glare magically melt away right before your very eyes.
All right, so we've mastered standard prints, but what about the big stuff? You know, things like old family maps, vintage posters, or maybe large pieces of artwork. Let's dig into the technique for digitizing these oversized items without losing a single ounce of detail.
The problem here is pretty straightforward, right? To get a huge item to fit in your camera's frame, you have to back the camera up. And as you move further away, you lose resolution. All that tiny, fine print on an old map or the delicate brushstrokes on a painting just turn into a blurry mess. You just can't have both a super wide view and fine detail in one shot. It's a trade-off.
But there's a really elegant solution. It's often called the mosaic method, or image stitching. Instead of taking one big, low-detail photo, you do the opposite. You get in close and you capture the item in a whole series of high-resolution, overlapping tiles. Think of it like you're creating a photographic grid. You just want to make sure you have about 20 to 30% overlap between each picture. Then, you just feed all those individual photos into a program like Adobe Photoshop, use its Photo Merge feature, and it will automatically stitch them all together into one massive, incredibly detailed final image. It's amazing.
Wow, we have covered a lot of ground today, from the basic setup all the way to advanced techniques for the trickiest prints. So let's just take a second to recap the absolute core principles that will make sure every single one of your captures is perfect.
If you remember nothing else, remember these 3 golden rules. Number 1, your camera sensor has to be perfectly parallel to the print. A great way to check this is the mirror trick. Put a small mirror on the base, and if your lens is perfectly centered in the reflection, you're good. 2, the print must be perfectly flat. Use your magnets or that acrylic sheet. No excuses. And 3, the light must be perfectly glare-free. That's where cross-polarization comes in. You master these 3 things, and you've mastered this entire process.
Look, at the end of the day, this isn't just a technical exercise in photography. Every single one of those old prints holds a piece of a story, a moment in time that we can never get back. They are your family's legacy, frozen on paper. And now you have the tools to protect that legacy, to give it a permanent, safe, digital life. So the only question left is, what story are you going to save first?